I pulled into the parking lot behind our shop at exactly 3:42 p.m. on a Thursday. My truck, still smelling of lake water and the northern pike we'd caught up at Lake of the Woods. My brother Frank and I had spent 5 days at his cabin, the first real break I'd taken in 3 years since my wife Linda's cancer treatments ended. She'd insisted I go, said I needed it, and she was right. Those 5 days of fishing, no phone service, just the water and the quiet, had been exactly what I needed. But something felt wrong the moment I saw the back door. The security light was off. We never turned that light off. Our shop, Mitchell & Sons Custom Furniture, had been in this spot in Burlington, Ontario, for 23 years. That light stayed on 24/7. I tried my key in the back door. It didn't turn. The lock had been changed. My stomach dropped. I walked around to the front. Through the window, I could see our showroom, the custom dining tables, the cherry wood cabinets. Everything looked normal. But the open sign was flipped to closed even though it was Thursday afternoon. We were never closed on Thursdays. I called the shop phone. It rang and rang. No answer. I called my nephew Tyler. He'd been managing the shop for the past 5 years while I'd gradually stepped back. 28 years old. Good kid. My sister Sarah's only son. I'd taught him the trade myself. Brought him in when he was struggling to find direction after college. Taught him woodworking, business management, customer relations. He'd been reliable, talented even. Customers loved him. Voicemail. I called Linda. The shop's locked up and Tyler's not answering. Did he call you? No, nothing. Maybe he's with a client? A custom order pickup? On a Thursday? Without telling me? I tried to keep the edge out of my voice, but Linda knew me too well. Drive home, David. Check your email. There's probably an explanation. I sat in my truck, opening my laptop, connecting to my phone's hotspot. 63 unread emails. I started scrolling, and then I saw it. Subject: urgent. Account activity alert. Mitchell & Sons business account. From Scotia Bank Business Services. My hands went cold. This is an automated notification that your business account, ending in 4,782, has experienced unusual activity. Multiple large transactions have occurred over the past 5 days, totaling $215,847. Please contact our fraud department immediately at... I couldn't breathe. $215,847. That was everything. Our operating account, the money from our last 3 contracts, the deposit for the Thompson's custom kitchen we were supposed to start next week. I called the number, hands shaking so badly I had to dial twice. Scotia Bank Fraud Department. This is Jennifer speaking. This is David Mitchell. I just got an alert about my business account. What the hell happened? Mr. Mitchell, let me pull up your account. Can you verify your business number and postal code? I gave her the information, my mind racing. Tyler had signing authority. I'd added him 2 years ago when Linda was sick, and I needed someone who could handle deposits, pay suppliers, manage the day-to-day finances. Mr. Mitchell, I show 7 wire transfers over the past 5 days. The largest was $45,000, the smallest $18,000. They were all authorized using your joint account access, and they all went to the same recipient account. A numbered company registered in Alberta. I didn't authorize any transfers. I was at a cabin with no cell service. Who authorized them? There was a pause. The transactions were approved using the secondary account holder credentials. A Tyler Mitchell? Tyler, my nephew, Sarah's son. The kid I'd taken fishing when he was 8. The young man I'd given a career to when he was lost. The family member I'd trusted with everything. Those transactions are fraudulent, I said, my voice flat. I'm filing a police report. I drove home. I don't remember the drive. Linda was waiting on the front porch, her face pale. She'd gotten my text. How bad? She asked. Everything. He took everything. We sat at the kitchen table, the same table I'd built 30 years ago when we'd first bought this house. Linda made tea neither of us drank while I called the police. The officer who showed up was young, maybe 30, with kind eyes and a notebook. Constable Amanda Price. She listened to everything, took photos of the bank emails, made notes. Mr. Mitchell, I need to ask, Did Tyler have legitimate access to the account? Yes. I gave it to him 2 years ago. But not for this. Not to empty the account and disappear. Has he done anything like this before? Any financial irregularities? I thought about it. Really thought about it. No. Never. He's been good with money, good with customers, reliable. If anything, he's been too cautious, always checking with me before making big decisions. Any recent behavior changes? Financial stress? Personal problems? Linda spoke up. His wife left him. About 4 months ago, Carrie took their daughter and moved back to her parents' place in Kitchener. I remember Sarah mentioning he was taking it hard. I'd forgotten about that. I'd been so focused on Linda's health, on keeping the business running, I hadn't paid attention to Tyler's personal life. Constable Price wrote that down. I'm going to file this as fraud and theft over $5,000. That's a serious criminal offense. A detective will contact you within 48 hours. In the meantime, do you have any way to reach Tyler? I'll try his apartment. I pulled out my phone and called Sarah, my younger sister. She answered on the first ring. David, how was fishing? Did you and Frank catch anything? Sarah, I need Tyler's address. His current address. What? Why? What's wrong? Just give me the address, Sarah. I could hear the shift in her voice, the defensive mother instinct kicking in. David, you're scaring me. What happened? Tyler emptied our business account, $215,000. While I was gone, I need to find him. The silence was absolute. That's not possible, she finally said, her voice shaking. Tyler wouldn't. David, there must be a mistake. Maybe the bank made an error. Maybe. Sarah. The address. She gave it to me. A condo building on Lakeshore Road, 15 minutes away. After Constable Price left, I sat in my truck outside Tyler's building for 20 minutes, trying to steady myself. Linda had wanted to come, but I'd asked her to stay home. I didn't know what I'd find, what I'd say, what I'd do. The building's security door was propped open with a broken lock. I took the elevator to the 4th floor. Unit 412. I knocked. Nothing. I knocked harder. Tyler, I know you're in there. The door across the hall opened. An older woman peered out. He's not there. Haven't seen him in days. There were some men here yesterday. Rough looking. They were pounding on his door too. What kind of men? I don't know. Big guys. One had a tattoo on his neck. They scared me, so I called building management. I thanked her and left, my mind spinning. Rough men, tattoos. What had Tyler gotten himself into? I called Frank. My older brother, retired RCMP, the steady one who'd always been there when things got bad. Dave, what's wrong? You sound terrible. I told him everything. He listened without interrupting, the way he always did. You need a lawyer, he said when I finished. Not just for the criminal side, for the civil recovery too. And Dave, you need to prepare yourself. If Tyler's involved with loan sharks or organized crime, this is bigger than just theft. He's my nephew, Frank, Sarah's son. How did I not see this coming? Because you trusted him. Because he's family. That's not a weakness, Dave. I hired Gerald Sampson, a lawyer Frank recommended who specialized in fraud cases. Gerald was in his 60s, gray-haired and sharp-eyed, with an office that smelled like old books and coffee. David, I've reviewed the bank records you sent. This is straightforward fraud. Tyler had access. He abused it. The evidence is clear. The criminal case will be strong. But recovery, that's the hard part. If the money's gone into gambling, drugs, or paid to criminals, you'll never see it again. What do I do? File a civil suit parallel to the criminal case. We freeze whatever assets he has. Car, condo, if he owns it, any other accounts. We get a judgment, and we pursue it for the rest of his life if we have to. What are his chances? Of jail time? Gerald leaned back in his chair. Theft over $5,000, fraud, breach of trust. He's looking at 2 to 5 years if convicted. But David, you need to know, this will destroy him. Criminal record, bankruptcy, professional ruin. And it'll tear your family apart. He tore my family apart when he stole my life's work. On the 3rd day after I discovered the theft, Sarah showed up at my house. She looked terrible. like she hadn't slept. Linda let her in, made more tea, nobody would drink. "David, please," Sarah said, sitting across from me at that kitchen table. "Don't do this. Don't press charges. Tyler made a mistake. A terrible mistake, but he's family. He's my son. He stole over $200,000, Sarah. That's not a mistake. That's a crime. He's going through a divorce. He's depressed. He wasn't thinking straight. Please, can't we work this out as a family? Let him pay it back over time? With what money? He emptied my account. The business can't pay our suppliers, can't make payroll, can't start the jobs we're contracted for. Do you understand what he's done? 23 years of work, gone. You have insurance, don't you? The bank will refund." I cut her off. "The bank won't refund fraudulent transactions when the fraud was committed by an authorized user. Our insurance doesn't cover employee theft by someone with legitimate access." "Sarah, I'm going to lose the business." She started crying. "He's my son, David, my only child. If he goes to prison, his life is over. Carrie won't let him see Madison. He'll have nothing left." Linda, who'd been quiet, spoke up gently. "Sarah, what about us? What about David's life? His business? We're family too." Sarah looked at her sister-in-law, then back at me. "I'll never forgive you if you do this." After she left, I sat in my workshop, surrounded by the tools I'd collected over 40 years. My grandfather's hand planes, my father's chisels, the router table I'd built myself. This shop, this business, it was supposed to be my legacy. Tyler was supposed to inherit it someday, keep the Mitchell name going in custom furniture. The detective assigned to the case was a woman named Detective Sandra Morrison. She was maybe 45, with tired eyes, and a direct manner I appreciated. "Mr. Mitchell, I've reviewed the bank records. I've also run Tyler Mitchell's financials. In the past 6 months, he's withdrawn over $90,000 in cash from various ATMs. That's on top of the $215,000 from your business account. Where did he get $90,000? Credit cards, personal loans, a second mortgage on his condo. He's in debt, up to his eyeballs. And based on the pattern of withdrawals, always in $300, $500 amounts, always at night. My educated guess is gambling." She pulled out her phone, showed me security camera footage from a casino in Niagara Falls. Tyler, sitting at a blackjack table at 2 a.m., chips stacked in front of him, a drink in his hand, looking nothing like the responsible nephew I thought I knew. We're tracking the wire transfers, but they went to a shell company that immediately dispersed the funds to multiple accounts. Unless Tyler cooperates and tells us who he gave the money to, recovery is unlikely. "So you're saying the money's gone?" "I'm saying the money's probably gone. I've seen this before, Mr. Mitchell. Gambling addiction is brutal. They chase losses, borrow more, steal more, always convinced the next bet will fix everything. It never does." A week after the theft, Tyler finally called me. Unknown number, but I knew his voice immediately. "Uncle David, please don't hang up." I didn't hang up. I put the phone on speaker so Linda could hear. "Where are you, Tyler?" "I can't tell you that. I needed to explain. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. Sorry doesn't give me back my business." His voice broke. I know. It started small, just a few hands of blackjack to blow off steam after Carrie left. I won at first, won big, $8,000 in one night. I thought, this is it. This is how I pay off the divorce lawyer, get ahead of the debt, show Carrie I'm not a failure. I waited, but then I lost. Lost everything I'd won plus the money I'd brought. So I went back the next night to win it back. And I lost more and more. Before I knew it, I was $40,000 in the hole. I took out loans, maxed out credit cards, mortgaged the condo. I kept thinking, the next night, the next hand, I'd hit it big and fix everything. And our business account, I was going to win it back, Uncle David. I swear to God, I was going to win it back and put it all back before you even noticed. I had a system. I'd been studying strategies. I just needed enough capital to make it work. The delusion in his voice was staggering. Tyler, gambling doesn't work that way. The house always wins. You threw away $300,000 chasing a fantasy. I know that now. But I didn't then. And now, I owe people, bad people, people who aren't going to wait for me to pay them back. I'm scared, Uncle David. I'm really scared. Turn yourself in. The police are looking for you anyway. At least in custody, you'll be safe. I can't go to prison. I'll lose Madison forever. Carrie's already filing for full custody. You lost Madison the moment you started stealing. He was crying now, harsh sobs that made him sound like the little boy I used to take fishing. Please, Uncle David, please don't do this to me. I'm begging you. You did this to yourself. I hung up. Linda looked at me, her eyes wet. That was hard. Not as hard as telling our 3 employees I can't make payroll. Not as hard as calling the Thompsons to say we can't build their kitchen. Not as hard as potentially losing the business my father started. The next morning, Tyler's wife Carrie showed up at my door. Ex-wife, technically. The divorce had just been finalized. She was holding their daughter, Madison, who was 2.5, all blonde curls and innocent eyes. I hadn't seen them since before the wedding. Mr. Mitchell, I'm sorry to bother you. I heard what Tyler did. I didn't know about any of it. The gambling, the debt, the stealing. I knew he was stressed about money, but he always said he had it under control. I invited her in. Madison toddled around the living room, picking up the wooden blocks I'd made for her birth that had been gathering dust in a corner. I left him 4 months ago because he was never home, always working late, always stressed, always distant. I thought maybe he was having an affair. I never imagined this. She pulled out a folder, handed it to me. Bank statements, credit card bills, loan documents, all in Tyler's name. I found these after the police came to question me. He'd been hiding everything. Second mortgage I didn't know about, credit cards in his name only, cash advances. Mr. Mitchell, he owes over $180,000 to banks and credit cards. And Detective Morrison says he probably owes more to illegal lenders. I looked through the documents. The cascade of terrible decisions laid out in black and white. I'm testifying against him, Carrie said quietly. Detective Morrison asked if I would, and I said yes. What he did to you, to his own family, it's unforgivable. But I wanted you to know, I'm sorry. And Madison, she's innocent in all this. Madison had found an old photo album, was flipping through pictures of family gatherings, birthdays, Christmas mornings. There was Tyler at 8, holding up a fish we'd caught together. Tyler at 12, helping me sand a table. Tyler at 18, graduation day, his arm around Sarah. When had it all gone wrong? The preliminary hearing was in October, 6 weeks after I'd come home from that fishing trip. Tyler's lawyer tried to argue that the money was borrowed, not stolen, that Tyler had every intention of paying it back, that this was a civil matter, not a criminal one. The Crown prosecutor, a sharp woman named Rachel Chen, wasn't having it. The defendant had a fiduciary duty to his uncle's business. He systematically stole over $215,000 over 5 days, transferred it to shell accounts, and used it to fuel a gambling addiction. He then fled, avoided contact with police, and showed no remorse until he was facing consequences. This is textbook fraud and theft. The judge, an older man with gray hair and reading glasses, looked at Tyler, who sat beside his lawyer looking small and scared. Mr. Mitchell, you held a position of trust. You abused that trust in the most egregious way possible. I'm ordering you to stand trial. Tyler's bail was set at $50,000. Sarah mortgaged her house to post it. She wouldn't look at me as she left the courthouse. Frank pulled me aside in the hallway. Dave, the prosecutor, offered Tyler a deal. Plead guilty to fraud over $5,000, 3 years probation, full restitution, no jail time. No jail time? The jail is overcrowded. They're offering deals to non-violent offenders. But the restitution order will follow him for life. If he misses payments, they can revoke probation, and he'll serve the suspended sentence. 5 years. What would you do? Frank was quiet for a moment. I'd want justice, real justice, but I'd also want certainty. Trials are unpredictable, Dave. A jury might feel sorry for him. They might see a kid who made mistakes, not a criminal. If you lose at trial, he walks away with nothing. I talked to Linda. We talked to Gerald. In the end, we rejected the plea deal. I need 12 strangers to say what he did was wrong, I told Rachel Chen. Not just illegal, wrong. The trial was scheduled for January. During those months, I barely kept the business afloat. Linda went back to work as a nurse, something she'd retired from 2 years earlier. We borrowed money from Frank, took out a line of credit on our house, scrambled to pay suppliers and keep the shop running. I lost 2 of my 3 employees. Couldn't afford to keep them. The third, Marco, who'd been with me for 15 years, agreed to stay at reduced hours. You gave me a chance when I needed it, boss, he said. I'm not leaving. The Thompsons' kitchen never got built. They sued us for breach of contract, settled for the deposit back plus damages. $18,000 I didn't have. My doctor put me on blood pressure medication. Linda and I fought more in those 4 months than we had in 35 years of marriage, stress fracturing what had always been solid. But the worst part was Sarah, my sister, my baby sister, who I'd protected from bullies in school, who I'd walked down the aisle when our father was too sick, who I'd held when her husband left her, and she was a single mom with a toddler. She wouldn't speak to me, wouldn't return calls. At family gatherings, she'd leave if I showed up. Our mother, 84, and in a nursing home, cried when she heard we weren't speaking. Family shouldn't do this to each other, Mom said, her hands shaking with Parkinson's. You're all I have left. The trial lasted 3 days. Rachel Chen presented the evidence methodically. Bank records, wire transfer receipts, security footage from the casino, testimony from the bank's fraud investigator. Tyler's lawyer tried to paint him as a victim, addicted and desperate, making poor choices under extreme stress. They brought in a psychologist who testified about gambling disorder, about how it's a mental illness, about how Tyler was sick, not criminal. They played the victim card hard. His daughter Madison had special needs now, speech delays from the trauma of her parents' divorce. Tyler was getting treatment, attending Gamblers Anonymous, trying to turn his life around. On the second day, Rachel called me to testify. Mr. Mitchell, can you describe your relationship with your nephew before this incident? I looked at Tyler, sitting at the defense table, 30 pounds thinner than the last time I'd seen him, eyes hollow. I loved him like a son, I said, and my voice cracked, despite my efforts to stay steady. I taught him everything I knew. I trusted him with my life's work. I thought we were building something together. And how has this affected you? I almost lost my business. My wife had to come out of retirement. We had to mortgage our home. I have employees, suppliers, customers who depended on me, and I let them down because I trusted the wrong person. Do you believe Tyler intended to pay the money back? I thought about that. Really thought about it. I think he told himself he would. But intention doesn't matter when the money's gone. Tyler's lawyer cross-examined me, tried to get me to admit I'd been a demanding boss, that Tyler had been underpaid, that there was a history of financial disagreements. Isn't it true, Mr. Mitchell, that you promised Tyler a partnership in the business but never followed through? We discussed it. But partnership requires trust and capital. Tyler had neither. Isn't it also true that you refused to give Tyler a raise last year, despite record profits? We didn't have record profits. We had a good year, and Tyler's salary was competitive for his role. On the third day, Tyler testified. His lawyer had coached him well. He was remorseful, broken, apologetic. He talked about his gambling addiction, about the spiral he'd fallen into, about how sorry he was. But Rachel Chen's cross-examination was brutal. Mr. Mitchell, you testified that you intended to pay the money back. Is that correct? Yes. How were you planning to do that? You'd already lost over $300,000 gambling. What made you think you could win it back? I had a system at blackjack, a game where the house has a mathematical advantage. I know it sounds stupid now, but did you seek help for your gambling addiction before you stole from your uncle? No, but did you tell your uncle about your debts, your problems? Ask for help? I couldn't. He was dealing with his wife's cancer. I didn't want to. So instead of asking for help, you stole over $200,000 and tried to sell his business out from under him? Tyler's lawyer objected, but the damage was done. The jury deliberated for 6 hours. I sat in the courthouse cafeteria with Linda, drinking terrible coffee, waiting. When they came back, the forewoman stood. We find the defendant guilty on all counts. Tyler closed his eyes. Sarah, sitting in the gallery, let out a sound like a wounded animal. Sentencing was 2 weeks later. The judge had read everything. My victim impact statement, letters from our employees, letters from Carrie, letters from Tyler's Gamblers, anonymous sponsor. Mr. Tyler Mitchell, the judge began, looking down from the bench. You were given trust, and you betrayed it in the most fundamental way. You stole from family, from a man who'd given you opportunity and training and love. You've shown remorse, but only after facing consequences. I sentence you to 4 years in federal prison, full restitution of $215,847 plus interest, and a lifetime prohibition from handling other people's money in a professional capacity. 4 years. He'd be 32 when he got out. Carrie had already said she wouldn't wait, wouldn't bring Madison to visit. He'd miss his daughter's entire childhood. Sarah stood up, screaming, "You did this! David, you destroyed my son! I hope you're happy!" Security had to escort her out. I sat there, numb, watching my nephew be led away in handcuffs, watching my sister's heart break, and I felt nothing, just empty. Linda took my hand. "Let's go home." The civil suit was faster. Gerald went after Tyler's condo, but it was underwater on the mortgage. His car was repossessed. His few other assets, maybe $8,000 worth, were seized. Scotiabank's insurance ended up covering $95,000 after a year-long fight. They determined that their fraud detection protocols should have caught the unusual transfers, so they bore partial responsibility. Tyler's future wages would be garnished at 25% for the rest of his working life, if he ever worked again. We recovered $112,000 total. We were still $103,000 short. Frank helped bridge the gap with a loan, interest-free, payable whenever we could. Family helps family, he said, and I didn't miss the implication. I was still family to him, even if Sarah had disowned me. The business survived, barely. We downsized, moved to a smaller shop, operated with just me and Marco. Linda kept working. We put off retirement, put off the travel we'd planned, put off everything. But we survived. 2 years in now. Tyler's in Millhaven Institution, medium security. He writes sometimes, letters forwarded through the prison system. I don't read them. Linda does, though she won't tell me what they say. Sarah hasn't spoken to me since the sentencing. Our mother died 6 months ago. At the funeral, Sarah stood on the opposite side of the grave. When I tried to approach her afterward, she walked away. "You're dead to me," she'd said once, through her lawyer. "You killed my son and our family." But here's what she doesn't understand. Tyler killed our family the moment he stole. I just refused to be destroyed along with him. Carrie brings Madison by sometimes. She's 4 now, talking in full sentences, her speech delays mostly resolved. She doesn't remember her father, doesn't ask about him. Should I tell her? Carrie asked me once. When she's older? About where he is? Tell her the truth, I said. Tell her he made terrible choices and faced consequences. Tell her actions have results. Maybe she'll learn what her father didn't. Do I think we did the right thing? I don't know. Some days I think yes. Some days I wake up at 3 a.m., remembering Tyler at 8 years old, trusting me to teach him how to bait a hook, and I wonder if there was another way. Most days, I try not to think about it at all. But when Madison comes over, when she sits in my workshop and I teach her how to sand a piece of wood, moving with the grain, not against it, I think maybe something good came from all this pain. Maybe she'll learn from her father's mistakes. Maybe she'll be better than he was. Tyler has 2 years left on his sentence. He'll be eligible for parole in 6 months. I don't know what happens then. I don't know if he'll try to contact us, if he'll have learned anything, if prison will have changed him or hardened him. I don't know if I'll ever be able to look at him and see my nephew again, or if I'll always see the man who stole my future. What I do know is this. Family doesn't give you the right to destroy people. Love doesn't mean accepting betrayal, And sometimes the hardest thing you'll ever do is hold the people you love accountable for the harm they've caused. Would I do it differently if I could go back? I don't know. Some days I think I should have given him another chance. Some days I think I should have pressed harder, asked for more time. Most days, I just try to keep moving forward. That's the thing about family. You can love someone with everything you have and still refuse to let them destroy you. You can hold someone accountable and still grieve the person they could have been. You can protect yourself and still hope for redemption, even if you never see it. 4 years is a long time. Long enough to heal, maybe. Long enough to rebuild. Long enough for Madison to grow up and ask questions I'm not ready to answer. But it's not long enough to forget. I don't think anything could be. I came home from that fishing trip expecting to find my business thriving, expecting to find my nephew still the reliable young man I'd trained. Instead, I found my life's work dismantled by the person I'd trusted most, and in trying to piece everything back together, I discovered that sometimes the hardest battles aren't against strangers. They're against the people who know exactly how to hurt you. Because they're family. Because you showed them where you're vulnerable. Because you loved them enough to trust them with everything. Tyler showed me my vulnerability. He taught me that trust is a gift that can be weaponized. He proved that blood doesn't guarantee loyalty, and family doesn't excuse theft. He also taught me that justice isn't always satisfying, that doing the right thing can cost you everything, that sometimes you win the battle and lose the war. Sarah lost a son. I lost a sister. We both lost the family we thought we had. And for what? Money that's mostly gone, a business that barely survived, relationships shattered beyond repair. But I sleep at night. That's something. I look at myself in the mirror, and I know I didn't let someone destroy me just because we share DNA. I taught Madison, whether she knows it yet or not, that actions have consequences, that theft is theft, even when family does it. Is that worth losing my sister? Worth the hatred in Sarah's eyes at our mother's funeral? Worth Tyler's 4 years in prison? I don't know. Ask me again in 10 years, when Madison's 14 and Tyler's been out for 8 years, and maybe, just maybe, some of the wounds have scarred over. Until then, I wake up every morning. I go to my shop. I teach Madison how to work with wood. I kiss Linda goodnight. I pay back Frank a little bit each month. I survive. Because that's what you do. You survive. Even when family tries to kill you. Especially then,